cannot celebrate thee. They that go down into the pit cannot hope for thy truth, right? Only for the living, right? That's why Yahweh was like, let the dead bury the dead. The living, he shall praise thee, as I do this day. The Father of the children shall make known thy truth. Yahuwah was ready to save me. Therefore we will sing my songs to the string instruments all the days of our life in the house of Yahuwah. So he's using his pay action. He's activating. He's praising him in advance, right? He's speaking things that are not as though they were, right? So how did Yahuwah heal Hezekiah? And what are the branches?
The ones you just named, branches.
I ain't named no branches yet. You trying to be snake? No.
And how did he heal him? He went back to his faith. That's how he's going to heaven, or he's going to receive
Right,
heaven.
because he does supernatural things with our faith, right?
Mm-hmm. Got to get back to the faith.
Okay. Let's actually find out how the Most High healed him. The last two verses. Jessica, if you don't mind. Or if you're busy, June can read it.
No, I'm not. I just, we was at Isaiah 38, right?
Yep. Yes. Verse 21 and 22.
For Isaiah had said, let them take a lump of figs and lay it for a plaster upon the boil, and he shall recover.
Wait, hold on. He was sick unto death. He had boil or boils. And the Most High said to put what on it?
Plaster? Figs? Lump of figs.
Figs.
Lay it for, like a paste almost, right?
Right, but a paste from what? From the figs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 22. And Hezekiah also had said, what is the sign that I shall go up to the house of Yahuwah? We know that he did the 10 degrees backwards, right? So he said to use figs to heal him when he was about to die. Where figs come from?
Trees.
Trees come from what?
The earth.
A seed.
So it wasn't just, now, let me go back. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. Let me go back.
Yes.
Let me go back. Okay. I'm going to go back to, no, 2 Kings, the 2 Kings one. So 2 Kings, he said, turn again and tell Hezekiah, the captain of my people, this is Yahuwah speaking, thus saith Yahuwah, the Elohim
Yes.
of David, thy father, I have heard thy prayer, I have seen thy tears, behold, I will heal thee. On the third day thou shalt go up into the house of Yahuwah. So he said that he will heal him. But then how did he heal him though?
On the third day.
Through what? We just read it.
Without figs.
With something from the earth. Something from the earth he healed him.
Boiled some figs and turned it
Into a paste. Put it over the boil and healed him. And healed him, right? So again, Hezekiah's faith, this is Marpe, the branches of healing. Okay. So I'm going to go back to Genesis 1, right? I'm going to read verses 28 through 29. It says, and Elohim blessed them and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And Elohim said, behold, I have given every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. So the Most High made him go back to the beginning, something natural. So we don't always have to take these medications. We don't have to take these jabs. Sometimes it's simple things that can deliver us from things that they claim is incurable.
Yeah.
Right? Because we even know that Marpe means healing, a cure, right? But you got to have a sound mind to realize that maybe you need to change something. Maybe it is your diet. Maybe it's your sleeping habits. Maybe you need to exercise more. We got to stop being so stubborn and in our flesh about certain things, and finally evolve and make the changes that we need to make.
Mm-hmm.
We're just sitting idle, like.
Because that's what we was conditioned and learned to do.
Right.
You know, wait for the Lord to come to you, and your prayers shall be answered.
because you know what's crazy. So if you go to like a lot of these televangelists that like they have these big time ministries across the world, like they'll start like I got one guy that won't stop calling my phone, right? No matter what I do, I change number somehow he'll still get the number, and he'll always use these things like these scriptures, but then he won't show how the Most High actually healed her. Oh, I've heard thy prayers and I've seen thy tears and I will heal you. You're not gonna finish it off. How the Most High actually healed him? You're just gonna do whatever. I'm just like people, but people don't read, so they don't know these things.
Wow.
You know, they want you to just wait and wait. You know what happens when you keep waiting? You keep sending money to these ministries, and you keep filling their coffers, and they start buying multi-million-dollar jets and mansions.
Wow.
Right.
Wow, that's really deep though, because like if you think like everybody that goes around, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and heal you, but if they read, they know that okay, so if this person that is sick believes you to heal them, they're not putting their faith in the Most High to heal them. They're putting their faith in a person that says they have that healing power to heal them, instead of saying, I believe that Yahuwah is gonna heal me. Like, wow, that's a whole
And
lesson.
the crazy thing about it is, like, I'm coming to the realization that Yahuwah will be healing people, but they don't accept it. They go back
That's
right
good.
into the circumstances that put them in that situation, and then they have to get re-delivered from something that the Most High has already
Deliver
healed
them
you from. Right? So we're going to go to
Wow.
Ezekiel 47 and 12. Now, this is a future prophecy about what it's going to be like in the kingdom, right? Ezekiel 47 and 12, and it reads, by the river upon the bank thereof,
Couple minutes, right?
excuse me, and by the river upon the bank thereof, on this side and on that side, shall grow all the trees for meat, whose leaf shall not fade, neither shall the fruit thereof be consumed. It shall bring forth new fruit according to his months, because their waters they issue out of the sanctuary, and the fruit thereof shall be meat for you, and the leaf thereof for medicine. Even in the kingdom they're going to be for medicine. But no, people want to take all these different medications, be on 11 medications, and wonder why you can't constipate yourself. You know, why you get so constipated. You know, wonder why you can't exercise. You can't function because you're on so many mood stabilizers and pain medications that you don't realize you got extra demons on you.
Yeah, that right there.
Because people don't want to change. Like, people are getting, like, these demons, these low vibrating spiritual beings have moved in and they live there. And you know what happens? People, they get accustomed to it. It's like their family. Because people don't want to work to have a sound mind. People don't want to activate the marpay that the Most High is trying to give us. People are just so comfortable in misery. They want to always be seen as the victim.
Comfortable and lazy, because a lot of folks just don't like to read.
And comfortable with going through what they're going through because they like the attention.
They always want to be a victim.
Right.
Oh, it's always was me when the Most High didn't heal you from this, or He didn't give you a dream or vision or word about what you should do, but you're too scared. You know, or like you said, they just like always having people having to help them. Like, but Yahuwah, he helps those that do what? That help themselves. Right? Okay, so we're going to go to Proverbs 15. We're going to read verse 17. Psalms 104. And we're going to read verse 14. We're almost done. Okay. Proverbs 15, verse 17. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalled ox and hatred therewith. So, now, of course, this is the context of you don't want to be eating with people that hate you, right? But still, better is a dinner of herbs with a loved one that's trying to help you get better.
Wow.
You know, than eating meat with somebody that hates you and that knows that if you keep doing these things, you're going to end up back in the hospital.
Right.
It's a love thing. And people don't want to understand these things. Like, they don't. Psalms 104, verse 14. He causeth the grass to grow for the cattle, and herb for the service of man. The problem is, we don't want to think that herbs are for our service anymore. We want meat. We want, shalom, shalom. Thank y'all for coming. We want meat. We want bread. We want processed food. We don't want anything that's going to be helpful to us. We want what we think tastes good, even though our particular bodies cannot process it.
Right.
And if you're eating meat every meal, every day, we're wrong.
Yeah.
And we wonder why we can't get better. We can't lose weight.
It'll mess you up for real. Like, I ran into an old high school friend. I said, man, listen, I'm tired of eating this good tasting stuff. And ending up with these horrible results, man. I've got to change my eating habits.
Right.
I ran into him like, 3 or 4 months ago, man. I was telling him, like, I've been doing a lot of fasting and all of this, man, because, like, and it'll give you clarity, like, everything will start to taste different. You start eating the raw fruits and vegetables, like, it just it tastes good to you. It starts to just taste actually good.
And you're actually giving your body a chance to purge itself of the bad stuff. But if you keep eating all this stuff and all this fried food, all this grain, all this meat, all this bread, all this cheese, all this dairy, and you never flush yourself out, you wonder why you have inflammation out the wazoo, high cholesterol, high blood pressure,
It's too much of an
schizophrenic, you wonder why you can't sleep, you wonder why you have mood disorders, this and that. And when the Most High is actually bringing situations and people, even doctors will tell you, you need to change your diet. But you don't want to listen to that. You know, as soon as you hear a report from somebody else that think they know something, you're gonna just go be like the chap to every wind of pharmaceutical doctrine, of dietary doctrine. Instead of like it literally just says he causes the grass to grow for the cattle, and herb for the service of man. You won't even let what the Most High has created for our service serve you. Because you're selfish. Because we're comfortable. Because it's just so much more convenient to eat out, to eat fried foods. We don't want to go through the process of allowing our body to adjust to the healthy stuff because it actually tastes better. Like, even if you go to doctors right now, they will tell you, if you want to live a healthy life, the best thing to do is to have an 80% fruit to raw vegetable diet, maybe 20% meat and all this other stuff. But in this culture, in America, we're completely backwards. It's probably 90% eating out all the bad stuff and maybe 10%.
Because some doctors will tell one patient, you need to eat more red meat, and then tell another patient that, well, you need to stop eating meat altogether.
Like, we know there's a color ratio on that, yeah.
But
so, again, this is Hezekiah's Faith, Marpe, the branches of healing. So, we know that the healing for Hezekiah happened to through the figs, right? The fig is actually a tree when it grows. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. What is the tree of life?
tree of life. I guess the tree could have been a literal tree, but like just everything that's bearing fruit, every tree that's bearing fruit, basically, or could be.
Okay, so if that's the tree of life, then what are the branches?
Branches are. What are the branches like represent, or what's on the branches?
Yeah. Just your honest opinion.
I gotta think about this.
Okay. Okay.
But like the tree of life on a spiritual aspect for me would be my faith, and the branches of my faith is my mind, because I know it starts there, and then my marpe or my pay action, because I know that could be a branch, and as well as I guess my actions too, because I mean we have to do the work to get all the healing that we need, so that could be a representation of the tree of life.
Okay, I mean, all those answers are good, like spot on. But for one, you are the branches. I am the branches. Jessica, all of us were the branches. So we're going to go to Jeremiah 11, and we're going to read 16 and 17, my bad, if you don't mind reading that.
Yahuwah called thy name, a green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruit, with the noise of a great tumult or tumult. He hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken.
So what is the branches of it are broken? Read the next verse. What does that mean?
For Yahuwah of hosts, or Yahuwah Sabaoth, that planted thee, hath pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah, which they have done against themselves to provoke me to anger in offering incense unto Baal.
So basically, you can okay. So the tree of life is Yahusha. I'll just jump to that. It's Yahusha, right? So we will be branches. That's why he says that the branches were cut off because they were worshiping somebody else, right? So the tree of life is Yahusha. We are the branches, right? This is Marpe, the branches of healing, right? Okay. So we're gonna go to Revelations 22. We're gonna read verses 1 and 2. And it reads, "And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life," right? That goes back to Genesis, "which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were on for the healing of the nation." So at the physical level, that's talking about herbs, right? Spiritual level, we know that that's talking about the Israelites because there's 12 tribes, right? 12 manner of fruit. We are the branches, right? So in this day, we have to be marpe to people. We have to be healing to people and to our families, right? Because we're supposed to be the ones that are for the healing of the nations, right? Okay, now we're going to go back to Genesis really quick. Genesis 2, read verse 9. "And out of the ground made Yahuwah Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also is in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil." So the problem is, we have two trees to eat from. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't a literal tree. It was never a literal tree.
The tree of life was in the midst of the garden.
Right, right. So
That verse that we came from made this one come together. Or make sense.
So like that's how you know, even know about Paul and David's faith when we're talking about dominion over your mind, this and that. Well, there's two trees to eat from. The tree of life, which is Yahusha, obedience, or the tree of the law of sin and death, which is death eternal. So the tree of life, again, is Yahusha. Now,
What was that? Genesis 2:9? Genesis 2:9.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. See, it said the tree of life is also in the midst.
Yep.
The midst.
Yeah, right in the middle.
Which midst.
You can miss it.
Well, midst means to it's of motion. You said Yahuwah is the tree of life, so he gave us the breath of life. The Most High did, so it was within them.
Always.
And they're the ones moving in motion because.
Yeah.
Wow. And I said the last verse made that one just come together.
Okay. So we're going to go to Psalms 1 because David even understood these things. Verses 1 through 3. "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the Torah, or in the truth of the Most High, the instructions of the Most High, the law of Yahuwah. And in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth fruit, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper." Wait, we just read that, didn't we? Didn't we just read that?
Yeah.
"And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper." Right? Okay, we're gonna go back to Revelation 22 really quick. "And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. in the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were all up for the healing of the nations. David already knew these things. Like, that's why he talked about the tree that's planted by the waters, or the rivers of living water. He knew these things, bro. Like, we just got to get back to that ancient mind to understand these things. I just be rereading stuff and I'm like, oh wow, just like, okay, I see what you're talking about. Paul and David's faith, man, them dudes was way ahead of their time. So now we're gonna go to Proverbs 13. We're gonna read verses 2 and 12, and Proverbs 15, and we're gonna read verse 4, and Proverbs 11 and verse 30, if you don't mind.
A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth, but the soul of the transgressors shall eat violence.
So what does it mean? What is the fruit of your mouth?
The fruit of your mouth, the good things that you speak.
The words, right? Because by your words you either be justified or condemned, right? Okay.
But the soul of the transgressors shall eat violence.
Right.
So, transgressing.
You're gonna die. Or it's gonna become, you're gonna just have a chaotic life.
That too.
Okay.
Because that's what I was thinking at first. Just your life is gonna be hectic. 12. Hope deferred maketh the heart sick, but when the desire cometh, it is a tree of life.
So wait, isn't that just what happened to Hezekiah? Because first he got the report that he was going to die, and he immediately turned to the wall or the altar.
First thing he did was went to him.
Right, prayed, and then all of a sudden he got the word that I've heard your prayers and seen your tears, and that I will heal you. And then what happened? He got 15 years added to him, so he got the tree of life. He got an extended life, right? Okay. Now read Proverbs 15 and verse 4.
All right. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life.
So your words is a tree of life?
A wholesome tongue is a tree of life.
Nay, and I say, but a wholesome mind is a tree of life. The word, you got to watch the conversations that you have about yourself in your mind. You gotta talk back to them. Like, nah, you got to tell them like, hey, no, ain't going to be none of that up in here. No, you got to go. You can go to somebody else's head.
You have to have a sound mind that forms sound words.
Because you got to hold fast the form, like you said, of sound words. The problem is people don't want to, like, because it's a towering battle in your mind. And people don't want to do it. They don't. They're just used to getting ruled over instead of taking their dominion back. Again, this is Hezekiah's faith, Marpe, which means healing, the cure, the remedy, the branches of healing. And you just read the whole verse for me.
Read the rest of it. I'll start from the beginning. For a wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness, or perverseness, therein is a breach in the spirit.
Right. So if one's the tree of life, and then the perverseness is the exact opposite, right? So that's getting you to the point to where you're gonna die, whether physically or spiritually or mentally. Okay. Read Proverbs 11 verse 30.
The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life.
Hezekiah, what happened to him, right?
And he that winneth souls is wise.
So this whole thing has been about the branches of healing, Marpe. We know you have to use your faith. You got to activate your faith. You can't believe their report. You got to make changes. You can't just stay the same, eat the same, exercise the same, and expect changes. The Most High, He can do supernatural things, but guess what? He doesn't always do supernatural things. To be honest, very rarely does He do supernatural things right now. Unless you're getting to a spiritual level with Him. And I'm not just talking about, oh, I pray all the time, this is that, and then there's nothing to back what you're saying. There's been no changes. I don't want to hear all that, because you're not. You're lying. You can't be praying like that. Or if you're praying, then you're not acting on your faith.
Yeah, you're not putting actions in on your prayer, because we're so used to
wait on Jesus, wait on Jesus.
Wait on Jesus and your salvation will come. But if you're reading in scripture, you'll learn everybody that prayed had an action behind what they were doing.
Right.
They had to do something.
Right.
Like when Moses was leading Israel away from the captivity, and they had started talking crazy against the Most High, and the Most High sent serpents out there to bite them
Boy,
and
knock 'em
poison them.
Mhm.
And those that were poisoned were scared of the death and scared of the snakes. And they went to Moses, and they asked Moses to speak to the Most High for a healing. So he did. And the Most High told him to put this snake on this staff and tell them whoever goes up to this snake, they will be healed. So in order for them to receive their healing, they had to do something. They had to go up to the snake and look upon it to be healed.
So they had to face their fears.
Yeah.
They had to go through the water and look at their reflection like,
Yeah.
God, man, our sins brought these snakes
They had
upon
to
us.
face that ailment that was killing them and look it in the eye and be healed from it.
Yeah. Because for greater is he that is within me than he that is within the world. Right? If you got the faith of a mustard seed, we just read, you can move mountains. But they didn't have faith back then. They didn't. Like Moshe had to create that brazen serpent.
Like some folks think they got all the faith in the world. I mean, there's a difference between thinking you have faith and actually having it.
Yeah, there's a big difference between talking faith and actually walking in
Yeah.
faith. People don't walk it like they talk it, but they be talking it. And they be talking it good too.
Yes, they do.
Mhm.
They do.
You know, you're always going to change this, you're always going to change that, but every time it gets a little hard, not even really hard, you cave. Do you really want to be delivered? Do you really want to be saved? Do you really want to take the new form that Yahushua's trying to give us? The deliverance, because again, he's been healing people, but people haven't accepted it. Yaki, you know, I think I showed you the video too. He talked about it. You have to be delivered physically, mentally, and spiritually.
All three.
And the Most High, he will heal you physically. He will heal you spiritually. But he'll leave it up to you to get that mental straight. But you won't do it because you're so comfortable and wallowing and not truly having faith in the Most High to deliver you. Then what happens? You put yourself in the same situations, and that same thing or something worse comes up on you.
Yeah. And folks are just too used to, you know, looking and seeing the badness that's
Right.
happening, and
Yep.
they can't get over the fact that I can see this ailment happening to me. I'm looking at it right now, but I've never seen the Most High God, so I'm gonna go with this doctor I just seen instead of what I haven't never seen. But I'm still have faith though, I'm a believer. I'm just gonna check on this doctor real quick, or whatever the case might be. Like it couldn't even be that; it could just be any situation, not even health-wise. Because the Most High deliver you from anything, any dangers, any ailments, but you gotta have discernment first of all.
Yep. Because they talk about common sense, but discernment definitely ain't common. It's not.
Because he will deliver you from danger, but you gotta know, you gotta have discernment to know, like, you know, that danger can occur wherever it may be. I mean, you hanging with folks that you know is dealing in stuff that you ain't trying to deal with, but you want to go hang with them anyway,
Right.
and you know how they are.
Mhm.
Something bad happens, but you knew this. You knew how this person was. Just don't put yourself in certain situations where you don't need to be,
Right.
especially if they're not dealing in a righteous manner, not trying to pursue the Most High. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Like I'm not kicking it with everybody. I'm not chilling with everybody. No, not like I used to back in the day. Like no, like if you ain't trying to get in this book, get in this word, get in this scripture, and get the true meaning of life and living and what it's about, and that's praising the Most High and giving Him His glory, like just keeping the statutes and the laws. I'm not finna put too much time with you, because I'm not trying to stray away again and be on that same track that I was back before I came into the truth. I refuse. So if there's anybody out there that miss me, that's why.
Come to the truth and you'll find them. So, with all that being said, how is the brain constructed?
It's the brain.
Yeah, we only got one more slide.
Constructed. folks that say that the brain runs the mind, but the brain is just a body part. The mind runs the brain. So it's constructed through how the mind would construct it.
So, again, today's Sound Mind has been about Hezekiah's faith, Marpe, the branches of healing. The branches of healing. The branches of healing. So, you can't make this up. I just Googled this. You can't make this up. This is the last slide.
It looks like a tree with branches on it.
Your blood vessels are a tree in your mind, in your brain. That's why it's important to make sure that you're eating from the good fruits of your mouth. Because if the kingdom of heaven is within us, then shouldn't we be speaking life to ourselves? Like, look how intricate these vines are. Look, branches here, branches there. Everything is a branch. Why do you think Yahushua had the parable about the fig tree?
Looks like an actual tree with branches coming off of it.
The branches of healing, because it's all inside of you, but you got to have a sound mind to realize it and to actually put your mouth into subjection, put your brain into subjection, put your mind into subjection, put your kidneys or your kilya or your emotions, energies, emotions into subjection. You got to do that. But it's in you. Like, that's why, like, this book is so much more than just stories and accounts. You start looking stuff up like Tree of Life. Okay. So the Tree of Life is in everybody. Like, that's what that shows you. Like, the Tree of Life is in everybody. But people don't grasp hold of it. Because, again, they just go talking all crazy about themselves, speaking death on themselves, and eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which puts you at the what? Underneath the law of sin and death. People don't want to choose life, because choosing life is a battle, but choosing death is easy.
It is.
Being miserable and being negative all the time, and it's always somebody else's fault. Somebody else is always a victim, and never taking responsibility. That stuff is easy.
Mm-hmm. Because you have this sense of doing whatever you want, as opposed to choosing life. You don't get to do whatever you want.
Right. And somebody else has to do everything for you. You get too comfortable with
Once you
that.
change your mindset, you realize that this is something you should want. Because everything that we want now, or want it now, when you aren't in the truth, and like everything that you want now, all of that stuff is just forced upon you to make you think you want it. Just like with the serpent and Eve. She didn't desire that tree. She was learned or taught to desire that tree.
Whoa.